What's going on, guys? My name is Drybones, and today we're going to take a look at my Salamangreat Deck Profile for 2022. Also, a lot of people might recognize it if I say Salad, because in Yu-Gi-Oh! Salad means Salamangreat. But let's go. So to begin with, I'm using triple copies of Salamangreat Foxy. Foxy in this deck profile is super duper good, because you can just summon this monster and then you can excavate top 3 cards from your deck. And if you're lucky enough to hit a Salamangreat card, which in most cases I am, then I can just search it to my hand, which is good. Then I'm using 2 copies of Flame Buffalo. Flame Buffalo in this deck profile is also good, and I hope one day to get a playset of it. Playset means triple copies, but yeah, we don't need to think about that now. But Flame Buffalo here is super duper good because when sent to the graveyard, you can just draw 2 cards if you're lucky enough to discard one of your Cybers monsters. Cybers is a type of card, and Salamangreats are Cybers. Also, an effect I forgot to mention with Foxy: when in the graveyard, you can discard one other Salamangreat card to special summon this monster from the graveyard. It will not have his on summon effect by excavating cards because he can only get that effect if he is normal summoned. Then I'm using triple card. Whoops, not that card. Then I'm using triple copies of Salamangreat Spinny. Spinny in this deck profile is awesome to have at least. I would say you need to run 3 copies because you never know if one of them is going to be negated, and if you're only running 1 or 2, I don't hope you are running 1 in a Salamangreat deck profile. That would be sad. But then you can always have another chance to actually get it. Because when spinning is in the graveyard, you can special summon it if you control another Salamangreat card that is not named Salamangreat Spinny. And then when this card goes to the graveyard, next time it has to be banished, since yeah, I don't know why, but it is a cool effect, so a player cannot manipulate everything and just use the effect over and over again. I think it's awesome. And also, you can discard this card from your hand to give a Salamangreat monster you control 500 extra attack points, which is good. Just to boost your Salamangreat a little bit, special summon Spinny from the graveyard, link summon into monsters you need to summon your bigger monsters. Then I'm running 2 copies of Peril Exceed. Peril Exceed in this deck profile is good. I also hope to get a playset of this monster because it is just good to have. Because when a monster is link summoned, you can special summon this monster from your hand to a zone that link monster points to. And if you succeed to do that, you can special summon 1 Peril Exceed from your deck to the field. I most likely use this effect. If I'm lucky enough, I link summon into the link 1 monster Bale Links. Then I use Peril Exceed's effect to special summon and then special summon another one. And then I have 3 materials. Then I can link summon into IP and then later on into transcode or something else. Then I'm using 1 copy of Lady Debug. Lady Debug in this deck profile is good to have because you can search for one of your level 3 or lower Cybers monsters. Take, for example, Spinny or Gazelle, one of them. I would say it is a good effect. Then I'm using 1 copy of Microcoder. Microcoder in this deck profile is also good to have because if we are going for Transcode Talker or Access Code Talker, this monster is good to have in the hand because then you can just use this as a link material in hand. Then I'm using 1 copy of C Archiver. I think it's how you pronounce it. But when a monster is normal or special summon to a link zone, or a zone where a link monster is pointing to, you can special summon this monster from your graveyard. But it has to be banished next time it goes to the graveyard, just like Spinny. A good effect again because again, link materials. You are just reusing your resources every time in this deck profile, which is why I love Salamangreat Deck Profiles. Then I'm running one copy of Salamangreat Gazelle. Most likely, also, he's on the ban list. So I'm only allowed to run one. But if he wasn't, I will still think that I would only run one copy. Because with this deck profile, I use so many resources to just all the time get him back to my hand and special summon him. Also, when this monster is summoned to the field, you can send one Salamangreat, I think it's a card. Yeah, Salamangreat card from your deck to the graveyard. In most cases, Salamangreat Spinny, because then you can use Spinny's effect to special summon, and then you have two materials already, which is awesome. Also, when you start out with the spell card Will of the Salamangreat, special summon Gazelle effect, send Spinny to the graveyard. Perfect. I think I will also make a combo video with this deck profile. But let's continue. Then I'm running two copies of Salamangreat Falco. Falco in this deck profile is not that much usable because, again, you don't need so much of Falco in this deck profile. It is good to send cards to the graveyard, but that is also everything it is. Then I'm running one copy of Salamangreat Fold. Fold in this deck profile is I will say one of the best cards in this deck profile, and I actually think about to pump it up to two copies and then take for example one Falco out and then two Folds into this deck profile, because when a Salamangreat monster is normal or special summon except for Fold, you can special summon this monster from your hand. Again, in any situation where you just summon a monster. Then I'm running one copy of Salamangreat Jaguar. Jaguar in this deck profile is just, I would say, I most likely use him just to get one of my link monsters out. He's not that much use in this or else, but I also love the artwork pretty much. Then for the last Salamangreat monster, I'm using one copy of Salamangreat Wolvie. Wolvie in this deck profile, a lot of people will argue with me and say this monster does not even need to be in this deck profile, and they are correct. But I love the artwork on it, and yeah, that's pretty much why. And also, it's a good if you just summon him, because he also have effects when he is in the graveyard to be special summoned or searching for cards, which is good. Then for the hand traps, I'm running one copy of DD Crow. DD Crow in this deck profile is good to have because I can just discard this and banish a card in my opponent's graveyard. Then I'm running the one Effect Veiler to just negate, again, monster effects. Then for one of the best hand traps in the whole game, I'm running triple copies of Ash Blossom and George Springs. This hand trap is so good to have in this deck profile because, first of all, it's a fire effect monster. Take Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf's effect. You can, when a monster is summoned to one of its link markers, you can add a fire effect monster from your graveyard to their hand. Ash Blossom back in the hand. A good resource is if I have it in a graveyard. Or else I will go for Gazelle or Spinny, one of them. Then for the last hand traps and monsters in this deck profile, I'm running triple copies of Gamma. What's it called? Frame Gear Gamma. Yeah, I was tongue twisting there. I know. Gamma in this deck profile is super duper good, especially with the last card, Frame Driver. Driver in this deck profile is only in this deck profile because of Gamma. Because when I control no face-up monsters, quick effect, I can special summon this monster from my hand and then negate the card activation of that monster and then destroy the card and then special summon a driver from my hand, deck, or graveyard, which is a good effect. And actually, most of the times, I only draw one Gamma. So I don't have any complaints about to never run more than one, because for the most of times I only draw one gamma. In some cases I've drawn another gamma, but again, at that moment the duel was almost over, so it doesn't matter. Okay, moving to the spell cards, we are running triple copies of Salamangreat Circle. Circle in this deck profile is good to have because you can just search for a Salamangreat card whenever you need them. I'm not using the second effect to make one of my link monsters that was used or summoned by using one of that was summoned by using a monster with the same name. Thank you. To be unaffected by monster effects this turn. I'm not using that effect most of the time. I only use Circle to search for Gazelle if I don't start out with it, and if I start out with the Gazelle, I will go for Spinny because that is the only two monsters you need. Then I'm running two copies of Will of the Salamangreat. This spell card is good to have in this deck profile because you can just special summon once per turn, of course. Special summon your Salamangreat monsters from either your hand or graveyard, which is one of the best effects. Then for the last Salamangreat spell card in this deck profile, I'm using one copy of Salamangreat Sanctuary. Sanctuary in this deck profile is good to have because you can reincarnate Link Summon, which means that normally you can't do that. But you can take one of your Salamangreat Link monsters and then Link Summon that monster with a monster with the same name. Let's say Sunlight Wolf, then reincarnate Link Summon it to reincarnate Link Summon Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf. Because a few Link monsters of the Salamangreat, and also one of these monsters that I'm not using in this deck profile because it doesn't matter. But they have effects that will activate when you reincarnate Link Summon. And a lot of people does not actually call it reincarnate Link Summon, but that is the name of the summoning method. But yeah, that is just the only reason why I run this field spell in, and also the reason why I only run one copy of it, because the other effect is just stupid. You can choose one Link monster you control, reduce that monster's attack points to 0 for the rest of the duel, and then you gain life points equal to that monster's original attack. That is kind of stupid because that means that you will just lose faster. And that's also why I only run one copy of it. For the not Salamangreat spells, I'm running one copy of Silent Mining. Silent Mining in this deck profile is good because it's just a searcher. And if I start out with Silent Mining and let's say Spinny, I activate Silent Mining, send Spinny to the graveyard, search for, what can we search for? Gazelle? Yeah, always Gazelle. Normal summoning another Salamangreat, or if I don't have the chances, then summon Gazelle and then use Gazelle's effect to send a Salamangreat card to the graveyard. Pretty easy. And also in some cases I'm using one copy of Monster Reborn. Now I just screwed up with the cards. Perfect. But Monster Reborn, everybody knows Monster Reborn to take a monster in either player's graveyard and then special summon it. Then I'm using one copy of Change of Heart. Change of Heart in this deck profile is good because you can just take control over one of your opponent's monsters and use them for Link Summon. That is most likely why I use Change of Heart in this deck profile. And then for the last spell cards, I'm using two copies of Twin Twisters. Twin Twisters is good to just destroy your opponent's spell effects. I would say it's a good price to pay. Discard one card again, Spinny, to activate this card to target up to 2 spell traps on the field and destroy them. Then for the trap cards, I'm using 2 copies of Salamangreat Raw. Raw in this deck profile is good to run 2 copies of, because you never know when you are going to negate a monster effect, spell, or trap. So that's why I'm using 2 copies of this card. And 1 copy of the Salamangreat Rage that can pop cards. Also, Raw can also pop cards. But again, I will say using 2 Raws and 1 Rage is the perfect combination of these cards. Then I'm using, for the not the last trap cards, but almost 2 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence in this deck profile is super duper awesome to just run 2 copies of, because for the most of the times I don't draw them on my draw hand, but later in the game I will draw one and then set it. Also, again, how the game is working. If I start out with it, I will just I will activate it. And for the last trap card, I'm using 1 copy of Evenly Matched. Evenly Matched in this deck profile is good to have, because you never know when your board is going to be popped by shows. And yeah, that is for the most reasons, because if it's going to be popped by shows and you have this card in your hand, then after the battle phase, if you survive, of course, you can activate it, banish everything that they have, because then shows is unusable. Moving on to the extra deck. So now we're going to take a look at the extra deck. So for the extra deck, I'm using triple copies of Salamangreat Bailings. Bailings in the deck profile is good to run 3 of, but I will say 2 is also fine, but I'm just running 3 because I have the space to it. But I think actually maybe I will take one of them out when I get what's it called, the last pieces, because the extra deck is not fully complete yet. Then I'm using, and also it can search for the field spell, and when this card is in the graveyard, I can banish it to prevent one of my Salamangreat cards from destruction. Then I'm using 2 copies of Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf. Sunlight Wolf in this deck profile is also good, but I will say again, I will not recommend to use triple copies. Only use 2, because it is a good card, but again, you don't need 3. And for most of the times, I only manage to summon 1 of them. I just have 2 in the deck profile, because, well, if one of them gets popped, then I cannot easily link summon into the next one. Then I'm using 2 copies of Salamangreat Heat Leo. Heat Leo in this deck profile is also good, because you can shuffle spell traps into the deck, and also when this monster is reincarnate link summoned, you can choose a monster. Let's say you choose Salamangreat Bailings in your graveyard, then the monster you choose on the field will have the same attack power, and Bailings have 500. Also, I forgot to mention that Sunlight Wolf also have a reincarnation link summon effect. When this monster is used for a link summon of Sunlight Wolf, then you can add a Salamangreat spell trap card from your graveyard to your hand. Again, circle, add one of your Salamangreat monsters from your deck to the hand. Easy. Then I'm using 1 copy of Transcode Talker to just, have some materials. Then I'm using 1 Firewall Drang. Firewall Drang in this deck profile is actually pretty useless. I'm just using it because I think the artwork is cool of it. And I might also maybe just put it out when I get the rest of the cards, because I still need 3 cards to this X deck, and I will say I can't have space to everything. Then the 1 Pyro Phoenix, and now we're going to some XC monsters. The 1 Salamangreat Mirror Stalio, and the 1 number 38 Hope Harboring a Drunk Titan Galaxy, and Divine Arsenal AA Souls. these monsters, I will say, for most of the times, I only use my Mirage Leo because for most of the times I don't get the chances of summoning what's it called, number 38, and then into shows after that. Then for the Link monsters, one IP, of course, and the one access code toggle. Access code toggle in this deck profile is super duper awesome. But yeah, guys, what did you think about this deck profile? I will say that this is one of my favorites so far, and I'm also working now to build my Dragon Maid deck profile a little bit around, so it's more like Dragon Link and not like the shit that you saw last time. But yeah, guys, this was everything for this deck profile. I hope you enjoyed watching, and put down in the comments what deck profile should I use next. But without further ado, we will see each other next time on this channel. Peace out.